that's going on in the world because of your exposure to the news and the radio and everybody's opinion and everything. Do you find that that's flowing over? And maybe a situation where you would before be receptive and be like, yeah, sure, I'll do that. Now you're like, no, because you don't even want to think about it because you're too consumed with what's really true. Who can I trust? What song was it? Oh, one of the new Taylor Swift songs. I like Taylor Swift. Don't get me wrong. I do. I really like her. I'm sure she's going to want to be my friend one day when I'm famous. But the one new song that she has out, and it's, I'm going to say this wrong, but it's like, I don't trust anybody and nobody trusts me, or something like that. Like, I was listening to it and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, this is not the message that we want to put out there. Part of the problem is how isolated we are from each other. We're so separate. Everybody's got their country, their state, their party, their team, all this stuff. They're like, where's the one love? That is a really wild, awesome thing that we're all connected to each other and we're all made of energy, and you can feel people when you walk into a room. But now when you walk into a room, you're feeling anxiety and fear and distrust and all these things, and that's not the way it's supposed to be, right? It's not the way it's supposed to be. And like we were talking earlier, from tragedy, quite often, there's shining stars, there's good things that come out, and listening to different people on YouTube, because we don't have cable, so I'm very selective what I expose myself to. So the people who died saving their families, and you know what I mean, the first responders who risk everything to run into a room with gun, like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. It's terrifying yet amazing at the same time, so we see all these different modes of communication that try to separate us, whatever their intent is, but that's what it is. Everything keeps going back to race or going back to sex or your political party or whatever. And that is just so wrong. Like, we're dividing. If you look at it statistically, there's a hell of a lot more good people in the world than there is evil people. If we band together and stand strong, it's a beautiful world that we live in, but we need to take it back. We really do. Very, very important. And my way of doing it, obviously, is starting a love revolution, and I'm going to do it with you guys. You guys are my front line of the love revolution, and I love you all for it, of course. So it starts with good news and looking after yourself, right? Mentally we need to be on our game, and physically we need to be on our game. Because, if you're not physically fit, if you're not have a clear head, if your head's full of, processed food chemicals and fluoride and all sorts of stuff, and you're not thinking clear, how can you make decisions? How can you have good judgment, right? So I want you in your best self. So today I'm going to keep this very short and sweet. Sure, you're going to appreciate that. So instead of the normal 3 articles that I do, I have one absolutely awesome article. Now, this comes from the goodnewsnetwork.org. Fantastic site. I support it 100% by sharing it and looking at it and getting involved in it. But I also donate to it $2 a month, and well worth it if you ask me. To donate just $2 a month comes out of my PayPal account, and I don't miss it. And I would miss this website if I didn't have access to it, though, because it certainly helps lift me up on a regular basis. So, positive trends. 10 death rates that keep going down. Haha, what a great article that is. While some television networks might have you believe that we're surrounded by death and destruction, these positive trends say otherwise. As medicine becomes more advanced and safety procedures become more precise, less and less people are dying of common diseases and causes. You don't believe us? Here is the list of declining death rates. Number 1, breast cancer. According to new research by the American Cancer Society, breast cancer deaths in the USA have dropped by almost 40% since 1989. That roughly translates to about 322,600 averted breast cancer deaths. This trend is largely attributed to more consistent testing and efficient treatment. It's not just breast cancer either. A steady decline over more than 2 decades has resulted in a, are you sitting? 25% drop in the overall cancer death rate in the United States. The drop equates to 2.1 million fewer cancer deaths between 1991 and 2014. Number 9, malaria. Thanks to the world's most effective malaria vaccine, global efforts in the last 15 years have led to a 62% reduction in malaria deaths between 2000 and 2015. While there is still an excess of malaria cases in Africa, development of the vaccine is expected to stop infections throughout Ghana, Kenya, and Malawi in 2018. Number 8, measles. In 2014, deaths from measles plunged by 78% since 2000, as global vaccination campaigns curbed outbreaks of the disease. According to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, measles was eliminated entirely from the United States in the year 2000 alone. Number 7, child deaths from disease. An article from the Global Burden of Disease Child and Adolescent Health Collaboration says that mortality among children and adolescents decreased worldwide from nearly 14.2 million deaths in 1990 to just over 7.2 million deaths in 2015. Wow, that is a huge drop. We're not there yet, but that is a huge drop. Number 6, child deaths from car collisions. In 2014, a government report showed that the rate of American children dying in car accidents declined by 43% over the course of a decade. This is largely credited to enforcing seatbelt use and proper safety procedures for children. Isn't that something when you look at during even just my lifetime? You know, I was just saying to my grandson Xavier, he's 5, and we were in the car the other day, my son Robert and Xavier and Alice, my granddaughter, and we're driving along, and I'm saying to him, oh, Xavier, because, you know, they're in all their car seats now and everything's changed. And I said, there was a time when Nana was little, and we used to go in these cars called station wagons, and we all sat in the back seat. And when, you know, my dad, granddad, he would be great-granddad to them, although he's passed now, he'd go flying around the corners, and oh my gosh, we go flying around like nobody's business, smashing off the walls. Everybody thought it was fun. We laughed, we brushed off, it was just a whole different time. And so that statistic, when you think of, you know, your dad, did your dad ever slam on the brakes to, you know, swing behind and smack you or whatever, and you smashed against the back of his seat and that taught you to shut up? Or, you know, I was the only girl with 2 older brothers, so they put me in the middle and they did bad things. Oh my gosh. But I didn't get counseling. I'm okay. I lived to tell the tale. Because, you know, I don't know, whatever, little sister, right? But, you know, so you look at them today and you think of what we went through, and it's pretty amazing that we live to tell the tale and have all our limbs. And I mean, geez, we chewed wax for Pete's sakes, right? Anyways, number 5, maternal deaths. In 2000, the Millennium Development Goals were established by the United Nations to drive maternal and child deaths down by 2015. And indeed, the pace of improvement accelerated, resulting in maternal deaths falling significantly between 1990 and 2013. The vast majority of countries saw accelerated reductions in maternal and child deaths, with child deaths declining by 3.5 per year since 2000, and maternal deaths by 2.7% per year since 2003. Number 4, aviation. According to a report from the Aviation Safety Network, 2016 was the second safest year for aviation on record, led only by 2013, which experienced only 265 deaths out of the 3 billion people who boarded planes. This most recent year ended with 325 deaths in total, which is about 1 in every 10,769,230 travelers. Over the course of the last decade, airlines have experienced fewer and fewer deaths per capita thanks to newly enforced safety procedures. Wow, isn't that interesting? Now, I think it would have made more sense, just myself personally, if we talked about planes that went down, because when I think of 325 deaths in total, I think that's how many people fit on one plane. It's sort of hard for me to wrap my head around that. But anyways, number 3. It's not all about me. HIV, AIDS. Thanks to the tireless efforts devoted to education and treatment of the disease, a new report says that HIV/AIDS is no longer the leading cause of deaths in Africa. Whoop whoop. The research published by the fact-checking organization Africa Check, which is based on numbers from the World Health Organization, shows a 24% decrease over 5 years in the number of deaths from HIV/AIDS. The data reflects a continuous downward trend in HIV/AIDS mortality, with 760,000 people dying from the virus and its complications in 2015, compared to 1 million in 2010 and 1.5 million in 2005. This is wonderful. Number 2, stroke. Fewer Americans are having strokes, and those who do have a lower risk of dying from them, finds a new study led by researchers at Johns Hopkins. The study found a 24% overall decline in first-time strokes in each of the last 2 decades, especially among people 65 and older. A dramatic 20% overall drop in deaths after stroke was recorded each decade, primarily among those younger than age 65. The results were similar across race and gender, a finding that researchers were heartened to discover since a previous study suggested African American stroke rates were not improving. Oh, that's interesting. And number 1, smoking-related deaths. Yeehaw to that. While it may not technically be a decline in actual deaths, smoking cigarettes is the leading cause of preventable diseases in the USA. And thankfully, more and more American smokers are quitting the harmful habit every year. The Center for Disease Control and Prevention released a report last year stating that the amount of American adult smokers dropped by 27.7% since the year 2005. That's 8.5 million adults. This decline in smoking is credited to increased tobacco prices, comprehensive smoke-free laws, and anti-tobacco mass media campaigns, and barrier-free access to tobacco cessation counseling and medications. Additionally, the amount of British smokers has fallen to a new record low of 8 million, a decline of roughly 2 million smokers. More importantly, adolescent smoking dropped from 26% to 17%, which is the lowest it has ever been. Good news, friends. This is all very awesome. Very awesome. Good stuff. See, so when we think that things are all going for crap and there's nothing good going on, and, we're spiraling to disaster, you keep in mind that there's lots of good stuff going on in the world. We just need to take a second to find it and appreciate it. And hopefully at some point we don't have to find it. Hopefully at some point more people will be like me and they'll just start putting it out there. Start flooding your Facebook or Twitter or whatever you're on with all the good news that you can. And you know what? You're not just doing it for yourself. You're doing it for all your friends. You're doing it for all the people that are following you, that are liking you. That's why they're liking your stuff, because it's positive and you're filling up their news feed with good stuff. And just, take control. Take control. Start putting out some good stuff and watch the good stuff come back to you. So, before we're done, the 10 best foods to eat if you have arthritis. Do you have arthritis? Well, these are the things you should be eating because it's very, very common. 24% of those with rheumatoid arthritis reported that their diet had an impact on the severity of their symptoms. So, here's the 10 best foods that you should eat. Number 1, fatty fish. Number 2, garlic. Number 3, ginger. Number 4, broccoli. Number 5, walnuts. Number 6, berries. 'Cause tons of antioxidants in the berries, right? Darker the better. Number 7, spinach. Number 8, grapes. Number 9, olive oil. And finally, if you can handle it, tart cherry juice. So there you go. Get that stuff into you if you're suffering with arthritis. And you know what? Just try it. Try a couple of things, incorporate it in, see if you notice results. Have you ever thought of doing a food journal? When you're sick or you're struggling with something, try that. Just start keeping a food journal. You don't have to put quantities and stuff. Just a list of what you ate, maybe what spices you had, that sort of thing. And then notice it, in reflection, how you feel. And that's when you can start figuring out different things that make you feel good. So incorporate some stuff in. And just so you know, just about every time that I do the good news, I get my health facts. And I like the facts. We can't go on just sketchy information. So this is evidence-based by the Authority Nutrition of Healthline.com. Exactly like it sounds. Like it sounds, Healthline. So there you go. That's your good news and your healthy food information for this show. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you get something from it. And you know what? So what if you don't have arthritis? Eat some of this stuff anyways. It's all good for you. And remember, the least amount of ingredients, the better, right? Control what you put in your mouth, and you'll be so much better for it. Maybe this weekend being Thanksgiving here in Canada, maybe you'll see some of this stuff on your table. So scoop it up, right? Feed yourself, eat, drink, and be merry. And like I said earlier, scope out Negative Ned and Debbie Downer as soon as you walk into your function or event or your family thing, whatever it is you're doing. Make sure you scope them out, because you know who's negative in the family. You know who's really political. You know who's going to have an opinion that's going to bring you down. So just, you're polite, hello, and then go over to somebody that lifts you up. You need a surrounding of people who lift you up and make you feel good. Very, very, very important.